we don't tend to get these sort of seminars in Batemans Bay, and I thought they were important. I thought it was a good idea that this sort of information is brought forward. So hopefully this is the first in a series of 4 or 5 seminars, and level first.
At Carroll College, we have a fairly holistic approach to life and learning, and in particular, our pastoral care program is designed very much to ensure that our kids feel safe and feel secure while they're at school. So from a school perspective, we have a multifaceted approach, and that's what we're going to share with you tonight. Every single staff member at Carroll College is involved in some shape or form in working with students to make sure that they feel safe and secure. So I'd like to invite John to start our presentations this evening.
It doesn't work anymore in this day and age, that the only thing that a bully understands is a bigger bully, but you just get yourself into more and more trouble. And it doesn't work. It's a temporary fix, and it doesn't work in the long term. Bullying's been going on forever, but I think we all know at the moment that things like the media, there's a whole lot of stuff that affects bullying. Reality TV, some of those things were pulled off the channels, not so long ago, because there was just so much stuff happening in them that was inappropriate and bullying. Things like Facebook, MySpace, other chat room things, we never had to deal with that as kids. There was nothing like that that was a problem. But the number of kids that we have coming to us that are in tears, parents on the phone, because their children are being bullied in cyberspace, and they want something done about it, and it's just really difficult to deal with. And that involves texting and emailing and SMSs and all those other things that go along with it. So there's a couple of introductory things there.
It's important to actually look at the type. There's 3 main types: the verbal, physical, and the gestural. With the verbal, it can be quite direct, and from a school's perspective, I suppose that's fairly overt. We can see what's happening and we can deal with it and respond to it very quickly because it's very much in your face. Physical forms of bullying, obviously the pushing, the shoving, the hitting, again very overt. In terms of the gestures, threatening gestures can be very, very scary for some students. I can recall dealing with one student at one stage who had the power of the evil eye, the stare. And when I saw him use that stare with other students and some staff members, I could actually feel the staff members and the students' fear. Just from a simple look, it can lower a student's self-esteem and confidence if they're bullied, leading to depression and anxiety, and even suicidal thoughts. And over time, I've worked with students who are at rock bottom as a result of bullying. From a physical point of view, bullying can be real. It can be a physical ache, it can be the stomach ache, it can be the headaches, it can be the blood pressure rising. They can go through a whole realm of physical ailments as a consequence of bullying. Quite often, a student's friends can actually move away from a friend in the fear that they too might be bullied if they stick with that person and support them. When they are at school, they're unhappy, so absenteeism occurs, and obviously that has impact on their learning. I'm going to ask Graham to talk a little bit more about that now. Thank you.
I guess the first thing that we've been looking at for possibly, I'd say, the last 4 years as a gradual process is trying to make the whole community more connected. Bullying quite often results in kids being unhappy, not wanting to go to school, and as Anne just mentioned, it is going to impact quite severely on their learning. So we try to get the message across that we value and respect all students, and also that we're a learning community and the students feel safe there. And we're limited in that to some extent by the amount of information that we are given. If we're given sufficient information from students, we can act on what we learn if there is bullying going on. at the end of each year, as a pastoral team, we have a pastoral planning day, and that's one of the main, or the first item on the agenda is looking at how are we making this a connected community. And we've changed this whole school around in terms of our structure. Instead of having year group sort of homerooms, we've changed to having vertically integrated homerooms, which means we've got a mixture of kids from year 7 to year 12 in the homerooms, so that the older students can provide support for the younger students as mentors. In terms of, I suppose, the basic how, the most recent is the initiative that we've been putting through the school. It's happened, or been happening in a number of schools across Australia, and I know through Britain for a couple of years now, and it's a school-wide positive behaviours program. And basically what we have done is surveyed our community to find out what the key values are that they would like expressed within the school. And those key values are very pivotal in the way we approach bullying and what we do about it. In school-wide positive behaviours, the idea behind it is to come up with a list of about 3 to 5 premises that you build your whole school culture on. And I guess being a Catholic school, we start with being Christ-like. Our next main key value is respecting all. We would like our students to succeed, so we have aim high. And again, fighting the culture of bullying in terms of it being insidious, particularly with the boys. There's a sort of an enculturated sort of message that you don't achieve, that it's not right to be successful. So we're looking at students being proud and also celebrating successes and not being afraid to celebrate success. We overtly teach or explicitly teach values. We teach values particularly in the Browley ABC, but also in our religious curriculum, which has a strong focus on social justice. We have for the last 4 to 5 years been using restorative processes in terms of dealing with issues that arise in the school to try and fix the relationship between the people. That can't always be done, but when it can be done, it is the best way to go. The notion of empathy, to actually increase in kids the ability to walk in somebody else's shoes. In terms of looking at the people who are being bullied, our focus is more on resilience education. We have the counsellor working with groups, particularly of boys, on anger management, because there's a sort of bullying that goes on whereby kids learn they can press somebody's buttons and they know that kid will erupt, and they're manipulating that student and they're bullying them in that manner, and they're exerting power over the person and causing them to get into trouble for having a blow-up when really somebody else is pulling the strings. We have leadership training for our senior leaders in terms of how to lead the younger people. We have the SRC training. We have peer support training for all of our, at the end of year 10, all of our students. It used to be probably about 60 to 70%, but we're actually going to move to 100% now that we have vertical integration in our homerooms. But just learning about how to talk and how to connect with the younger kids, and those kids go away on a camp at the beginning of, or early in the year, in term 1 with the year 7s, and they sort of do activities and they lead the younger kids and they build up the relationship so that the year 7s have got an older student that they know in the school that they can talk to. We have staff training. We have staff training in Mind Matters. We're a Mind Matters school. We have the pastoral team. Nearly all of us have been away for mental health first aid training and suicide prevention training. So all of these things are geared towards, I guess, a greater degree of understanding and connectedness, and for staff to have empathy as well as the kids having empathy. teachers in the homeroom who have the kids every morning as the first port of call with respect to any bullying issue. So that someone who sees the child every day in a secondary setting talks to them, keeps in touch with them. If they get the word there's bullying going on, then they check each day or every couple of days just to keep in touch and say, how's it going?
Creating an environment where students feel safe to come to you and tell you that they're being bullied. That takes a while to set up, but once the kids feel safe with you, it works really well. We've got harassment forms that the children can fill in. It goes into a box that's in a place that's fairly central, away from other prying eyes. The vertical streaming Graham mentioned, which leads to the peer mentoring. I'd have to say I wasn't for the vertical homeroom system to start with, but had a meeting this afternoon with my team and they're all really happy with the way things are going. A few things we need to tighten up, but basically when the staff are happy about it, it's always a really good sign that it's working well. Involvement of the pastoral care teachers through the house pastoral leader, which is me, then to Graham, the deputy, and then the principal. There's a system, the PC teacher deals with the minor things, then it's passed on to me, and then if it's much more major, then it moves up. Emphasis on confidentiality, always. Emphasis on individualising each case. I mean, you guys, probably a lot of you know that they're never the same. You have to deal with every kid as an individual. There's no set pattern you can follow with them. Involvement of the family is always really important. It never ceases to amaze me how a phone call home can make such a difference to everything that's going on around the place. Mediation, working with the kids, in a small group if that's needed. We run a speak out committee which involves the students looking at bullying and the issues that happen. They've made up posters and put them around the place, and that really leads to creating that first one, the environment where the kids feel safe.
You have to be sensitive to the fact when you're working with people who are bullying that sometimes the last thing a person who's been badly bullied wants to do is sit in a room with someone who's been bullying them. It's just not something that they really want to do. And you cannot always get mediation to take place, much as you might want it to happen. If the person being bullied doesn't agree to mediation, they just don't feel up to it, then it's going to be bad for them in the long term to push it at that point. Maybe you can come back at it later on, but at that point you can't go with it. And we have to go the old-fashioned road in terms of actions, consequences, fairly straight up. Mediation is the better way to go, obviously, because when you go down the consequences road, you constantly have to build in buffers to protect people, and that can be quite difficult. Basically, no school has no bullying. Every school has bullying. Much as people would like to say they don't, if they say they have no bullying, you know that there's a bit of a cover-up going on. It's not a huge problem in our school in terms of percentage-wise. In the surveys that we do, it's fairly regular that it's probably about 3 to 4% of our students experience that sort of bullying we're talking about that gets them to not want to come to school at times. And they're the kids, we know them all, we work with them all. And I guess our overall aim is that we want the kids to feel safe and friendly in a caring community. It's like when you go to the doctors and you've got an infection and he says to you, when you take the antibiotic, you've got to take the whole lot. You can't stop halfway, because if you stop halfway, it'll get stronger, it'll get worse, and it'll come back and it'll take over. Well, if you start off with bullying, you've got to do the same thing. You've got to take the whole dose. You can't sort of say, right, I'll just try a little bit and see if it'll go away, and then say, no, it didn't work, and then give up. You've got to keep on going until it stops, and you've got to keep talking to someone, and you've got to keep reporting it, and you've got to keep kicking up a fuss, even though people don't like that, but you've got to keep on doing it. Well, sometimes there has to be legitimate use of power to deal with a bullying situation. I don't think that's bullying, but it is using power. A victim is always a victim? No, that's why we have training in resilience. And lastly, dobbing in always makes it worse. if you don't tell somebody on a regular basis and you're being bullied, there's a good chance you'll be bullied for the rest of your life, and you don't want that, so you need to do something about it. And I guess that's the sort of messages we give to our kids. Thanks.